Hey guys, how's it going? This is going to be a video about a message that was received by medium James Paget back in 1915 from Luke, the apostle of Jesus. And the message is coinciding with scientific proof of the Shroud of Turin. The book is Portrait of Jesus, the Illustrated Story of the Shroud of Turin by Frank C. Tribb, I believe. This is a very comprehensive review of all the research, predominantly scientific, that has accompanied the years since the first C14 dating that announced the Shroud as a fraud in 1988.
While the popular press was quick to jump on the fraud bandwagon, it seems they are less interested in what has transpired since. The evidence here is overwhelming, and it is pretty well guaranteed that this is the burial cloth of Jesus of Nazareth.
Amongst the discoveries are that there was no paint or dye used, that the image is a 3D photographic image with a total absence of any directionality such as would be caused by brush strokes. The image is only on the highest of the minute tendrils that make up the cloth fibers, tendrils that are smaller than the finest single hair used for painting. The image itself is best observed at a distance of about 10 feet, meaning a forger would not be able to see what he or she is doing.
Computer enhancement has proved that it is possible to use the image to create a 3D likeness. This has also revealed that coins were placed on the eyelids, and the letters on the coins have been passed to the image. These letters have been conclusively traced to coins only circulated in the period AD 29 to 32 and issued by Pontius Pilate. While the date of Jesus' death is debated by Bible scholars, our sources state that the date as Friday, March 18, 29 AD. Science is unable to explain how this image was formed, but is absolutely certain it has not been created by any method known to science. It appears to have been as a result of some sort of radiation, exactly what Luke revealed on October 24, 1915.
And I'd just like to chime in on the Shroud of Turin, the coins that were put on the eyes. It was saying those coins were in circulation between 29 to 32 AD. And in this message claiming Jesus died March 18th, 29 AD. And, that the image had to be done by some radiation coming from within and not without, as far as light coming in the cave or whatnot. Okay, True Gospel Revealed Anew by Jesus, Volume 1. Luke explains dematerialization of Jesus' earthly body. October 24th, 1915, received by James Paget, Washington, D.C. He was a prominent lawyer in D.C. in like 1913, 1914. He started receiving messages from his wife and some other people, and then Jesus stepped in, and it just went from there. But this was received by Luke. I am here, St. Luke, writer of the third gospel that was. I was with you tonight at the meeting of the spiritualists and heard the statement of the speaker as to the probabilities of what became of the body of Jesus after the crucifixion.
I was not present at the crucifixion, and of course do not personally know what became of the body of Jesus, but I have been told by those who were present that the Bible description of his burial in the tomb of Joseph was true. The body was buried in the tomb of Joseph and was left. there by those who placed it in the tomb, which was sealed, and a guard set over it to prevent anyone from approaching and interfering with the body, because Jesus had predicted that in 3 days he would rise again.
After the tomb was sealed, Jesus arose, and without his body of flesh passed from the tomb, and descended into the lower spheres, where the dark spirits lived in their ignorance and sufferings, and preached to them the rebestowal of the gift of immortality. So in these messages, it's saying that their eternal hell isn't real, that anything you've done, no matter how bad, turning to God and asking for forgiveness, and through the law of love, his divine love, you can be redeemed.
The body of flesh, by the power which Jesus possessed, became so spiritualized or etherealized that his component parts became disseminated by Jesus in the surroundings atmosphere, and he retained only the spiritual body, in which he afterwards appeared to the disciples and others.
When he appeared at the meeting of the apostles, where Thomas the doubter was present, he recalled to his form, as you will better understand by my using such expression, elements of the material, so that in appearance the body was as much like flesh and blood as when it was placed on the tomb. And before he disseminated these elements, as I have said, the flesh and blood, which encloses the spirit form of man, as you may have heard, is continually changing in obedience to the ordinary laws of nature as understood by man. And when Jesus, who understood and had power to call into question other laws of nature, caused such other laws to operate, that the dissemination of the elements of the flesh and blood took place, and he was left only with the spirit form.
This, I know, has been a great mystery to mankind since the time of the discovery of his absence by the watchmen at his tomb, and because of being such mystery, and as an only explanation of such disappearance, men have believed and taught that his body of flesh and blood actually arose from the dead, and therefore the real body of flesh and blood of the mortals will also arise in what they call the great resurrection day.
No body of flesh and blood arose, and the spirit form of Jesus did not remain in the tomb after the dissemination of the material body, for no tomb or other place could confine the spirit. You'll remember that on the third day, Jesus appeared to Mary, who was most intimate and familiar with the appearance of Jesus, and yet she did not recognize him. But though he was the gardener, but thought he looked like the gardener. And so with the disciples who were traveling with him to Emmaus, now if he had retained his body of flesh and blood, do you not suppose that they would have recognized him?
If he had the power to resume that material body into which Thomas thrust his hand and found it to be a body in appearance of flesh and blood, do you think it strange or wonderful that he would have had the power to cast off his earthly body while in the tomb and cause it to disappear into thin air?
This, I am informed, is the true explanation of the disappearance of the material body of Jesus. And to me and to others who understand the laws of nature, I mean that nature that is beyond the ken of men, it is not surprising or worthy to be deemed a mystery.
I am glad that I went with you to the meeting tonight, as I became impressed with the disability of making this great mystery a mystery no longer.
With all my love, I am your brother in Christ, St. Luke. This explanation is currently supported by the very latest scientific research. Read Portrait of Jesus, the Illustrated Story of the Shroud of Turin by Frank Tribb. While the popular press had a field day with the initial C14 testing done in 1988, the same press has not kept up with the scientific developments. This book has overwhelming evidence, hard evidence, that the Shroud is genuine and can be dated to the period AD 29 to 32. We believe Jesus died Friday, March 18th, 29 AD, based on a communication from Judas. Thank you and have a good Easter. And if you would like to donate to the channel, there's a PayPal link in the description below. Thank you.
Thanks. Happy Easter. And if you have any questions or comments, just let us know and we will try to answer them the best we can.